Well, hey, how's it going? Welcome to Vitalpoint Church and the Vital Moments wrap up. I'm joined by Ron. He's holding this big mug. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this big mug. If you didn't know it was a Vital Point video, you could definitely know now. He's got the mug. It is a Monday morning. We are recording our Vital Moments podcast. Ron, how's it going, dude?
Good. I've been up a very long time today.
Yeah.
Do you want to know why? I was running out of patience at 4:30 this morning.
For your dog.
No,
Oh.
no. The last 2 nights, there's been a pulsating hum that we can hear in our bedroom.
It's not the metal plate in your head?
No, it's not the metal plate in my head. So what's happening is we hear it just in our room. Okay. So I got up. I was like, I'm done. Like I just can't take this any longer. What is this noise? 2 nights in a row. So I'm up at 4:30 because I couldn't sleep because of this noise. So I'm roaming around the house. I got my ear against the wall downstairs by the fireplace because I'm thinking maybe it's something in the fireplace. It's humming, right?
I'm just imagining you in your basement with your ear close to the wall.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right. That is right. And I'm like, I'm like, this is killing me, right? I then go outside.
No, you don't.
Yep. I go outside and I look at the back wall of the house where the fireplace comes, the gas fireplace thing comes out the wall. Because I'm thinking maybe there's something in there, like, I don't know. But then I hear this pulsating buzz outside. I'm like, what is this? So I eventually text 2 of my neighbors and I'm like, guys, I'm losing my mind. I think. What is this? Do you guys hear this in the neighborhood? My one friend, Adam, he called me, said, you're not losing your mind. And then my one neighbor, Brent, eventually texted me back. He says, you're not losing your mind. Rogers has got a generator running in our neighborhood to keep the internet going. Because Rogers, we lost our internet and cable on Saturday. And I'm losing my patience, man. I'm just like,
speaking of patience.
Okay, let's go on.
Yeah,
let's
we did have
I
love it. We did have a conversation. Now that we basically wasted our whole time for this podcast.
Sorry, everybody.
Story. No, it's okay. But we did talk about patience this past weekend at Vitalpoint Church in our series, How to Win at Life, looking at the fruit of the Spirit. And patience is one of the big ones, one of the big slices in that fruit of winning at life when you have the Spirit alive inside of you. And for many actually responded like this was actually like a heavy conversation because you broke it down. You broke it down through a cool story of Joseph in the Old Testament, but also the definition of patience was interesting. Open that up for us because it's beautiful.
Yeah, we talked a lot about long suffering, right? And forbearance. It's that moving from being a short fused person to a longer fused person. That even when anger does express itself, it is not as harsh or not as edgy. And I think it's surprising, full upfront for the listeners. I really felt like this material, I felt like I was pushing it. Like as a communicator, you end up, you preach sometimes and you feel like you're in the material. Like the material is like, it's coming out of you. It's coming out of your pores, right? It's like, and really in that moment. This one was, I felt like I was pushing the material up a hill in both services. And even I think in the recording for Clinton and Exeter. But here's the crazy thing about it. And it's a good reminder again, that in spite of how we feel, like the response to this conversation on Sunday was really powerful. Getting a lot of text messages and you have to be careful with that because in either direction, whether positive or negative. But I think patience is lacking in our culture. I think it's lacking in our homes. And I believe it's something that needs to be formed in us. What great, I think this is what great about the fruit of the Spirit is that the fruit of the Spirit of God is the demonstration of Christ likeness. It's the sign of maturity. I was scribbling a bit this
Yeah.
morning, if you can see my notes here, on some other parts of the fruit coming up in the future. There's a lot of talk about in church world about what is maturity. Some
Mm.
people say I want deeper teaching, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
I understand what they're saying, but I think maturity comes from the fruit of the Spirit being developed in us, because
Yeah.
maturity is Christ likeness. It's not Maturity is not being able to explain revelation,
No, it's not. It really
right?
isn't.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing.
It's a great thing to be able to know your Bible and explain why like
Yes,
people ask
knowledge.
questions.
Get it.
Absolutely.
Get it.
But commitment to his church, like you're saying, is being
Yeah.
a deeply devoted follower of Jesus who has the fruit of the Spirit
Yeah.
alive inside of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the patience part of it is a necessary piece, especially in a culture that's
Mhm.
angry,
Mhm. So let
right?
me let me let me hit you right there with this because you said in this recording right now, but also in your message on Sunday that you are feeling like our world is losing its patience. It's short fuse. The wires kind of cross quickly. You use an Old Testament story,
Yeah.
Joseph. Why did you choose Joseph?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know why I chose Joseph, to be honest with you.
I just
Uh,
quickly, just quickly. I had someone in Exeter. She goes, "I never knew the story of Joseph," and she goes, "I got to go watch the play now." Like she had no idea it was connected to.
right.
She's not a Christ follower. She's new to church, new to faith, and she was like, "This is so beautiful to see it be even
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
in her life." So yeah, cool.
So the patience, it was, I think where that point was going was
Mhm.
when we face difficulties, when we face setbacks, interruptions, seasons of uncertainty,
Mhm.
that our patience is actually a trust in God, that God is going to bring His plan, His purposes out of the particular things that we're going through. I'm not saying necessarily creates them, although He can and does sometimes to get us back
Yeah.
on track. But I think for me, Joseph was that story. Like, okay, like Joseph, gets sold by his brothers.
Mhm.
First gets thrown in a pit, and then gets sold by his brothers. Goes to Egypt, finds himself in a position of power. Finds
Mhm.
himself in prison, back in a position of power, and then ultimately the dream that he shared with his family gets revealed because his brothers come to him in the famine, and they bow down before him, and
Mhm.
they're begging basically for food. And in this moment, what I realized is that his patience didn't take revenge on his brothers. He didn't pay them back. He didn't want to, yes, he did mess with them a little bit, but the messing with them, I think, was more about really trying to discern how his family was doing, what
Yeah.
was going on, what were they like, and all that kind of stuff. So he chose not to play the victim. When we choose circumstances, we miss out on what God wants for us.
Mhm.
Or human tendency is to bail, right? We want the path of
Yeah.
least resistance, or we're not good with not knowing,
Mhm.
right? And so we want what we want when we want it, and being asked to wait, that's unthinkable
Yeah.
because of our instant gratification culture. Patience is that long suffering. It is that forbearance. It's that
Mm.
pushing through a season of pain, difficulty, struggle, anxiety.
Mhm.
And it's knowing that somehow, in some way, my trust in God is going to bring. So the patience begins to grow and develop
Mhm.
in that season. And I think
Mhm.
I don't think we're good at that.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's why I believe that's why it's Paul by the Spirit wrote it in to the
Mhm.
nine. And it's interesting because it flows out of love, joy, peace,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's that natural outflow.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you
I
believe there's an
also,
order? Do you believe there's an
yeah,
order to that? If you're looking at the love, joy, peace, patience, do you think Paul writes that in a way that there's a specific order for us to understand that, like, do these things just they naturally overflow one another and like just go into it?
sure. Yeah, let me just. So when you think about it, they're broken down probably in threes, right?
Hmm.
Love, joy, peace, then patience, kindness, goodness, then faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. So you can probably break it down into the threes. But I don't, I want to caution us on this,
Yeah.
because I believe that the Christian faith journey is an ebb and flow of the process.
Yeah.
Seasons where love is maybe
Hmm.
that well, I think every season is love because everything flows out of love, right? Love for God, love for others. And the description of Paul in First Corinthians is love is patient. The very first
Hmm.
description of love is patient.
Yeah.
So for me, I think there's um, a piece of it where we begin to understand the complexity of these 9 things. Are it's not like you, okay, I got patience down,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to go on to,
Now I've
my
developed it. I
next
gained a
one.
level.
Okay, well, wait a second. I'm going to move on to
Hmm.
kindness now.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm going to go on to goodness. No, it's
Yeah.
actually a lifetime of journey of them all kind
Hmm.
of blending seasons where certain things are
Hmm.
being developed. But I just love Joseph's story. And I hadn't even thought about Joseph's story in a long time. Why I used it, I don't even know why, other than just I felt like it'd
Well,
be a
I
good
think
story.
well, it is. It's an incredible story because it helps us understand that you may have these moments where God's revealing Himself in your life, and you're gonna go through things that are gonna naturally happen or orchestrated are gonna be happening, and you have to understand that being patient in those moments actually builds the character of God inside of you. Like you said,
Yes.
there is
Yeah.
purpose within everything. Like God takes
Yeah.
the bad and makes it good. Like He does that,
Yeah.
but we have to focus ourselves on what does it mean to have the Spirit alive in us, so He reveals to us what God is doing. Um, and that's essential.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. And like you said, we jump out so fast. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's getting tough. I'm done. And the God's like, whoa, like I was literally
Yeah.
building something inside of you.
So
And
I think David, this is maybe for the younger crowd that might listen to this, if we have a younger crowd that listens to this.
we do.
Um, I I believe that oftentimes the difficulties that we face in maybe work or school
Mhm,
or college, university, whatever it is, I hear people say to me sometimes they'll say to me, they just don't appreciate who I am. It's too
mm,
difficult. I'm always being spoken to, the manager this, the boss that. Um, and I'm just going to go find a job somewhere else. And I'm just like, no, stay in it because God is fine tuning you, refining you in that
mhm,
scenario. If it's
mhm.
abusive and
Yeah.
it's harmful, of course, absolutely. Like that's just goes without
Flee.
saying.
Flee. Run.
Flee wisely, though. I mean, that's
Wisely.
the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
flippantly.
not flippantly, but
Yeah.
I just think too often in times we want to
Mhm,
bail. Human
mhm,
tendency is to bail because we don't like to be uncomfortable. We want to be happy. We want to be
mhm,
comfortable. We want
mhm.
convenience. And I mean, think about Joseph. It wasn't convenient. It wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
But yet, in the midst of it, he was developing the God honoring patience. And
Mhm.
then the dream came true, and his brothers came and bowed down before him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think patience is a key thing. And parents need to do this too.
Yeah.
Um, I touched on it. I don't know if I touched on it in the
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah, you did.
Did I? Um, is like kids will take their cue on who God is through their parents. And I would argue, and some may disagree with this, and that's fine, it's through the Father. Because we
Mm,
refer to God the Father. Um, and we
mhm,
have to be so aware of that. And if a dad is not willing to deal with the anger issues, the short fuse,
mhm.
to surrender it to the Spirit, to get some help, get some therapy, go to counseling,
Yeah.
there's long-term damage that can be done. I think the thing that helped me the most as a recovering short fused person is the fact that in my mid 30s I started getting help
Mm,
and realized it was an important step. And it wasn't always easy and great, still isn't, but I
yeah.
think it's important.
And I think that where we can wrap up on this is, and it's the takeaway of don't rob yourself of being shaped and molded by God through being patient. Like
Mm-hmm.
not being patient. Don't rob yourself of it.
Yeah, in our patience, maybe it says patience is the path that reveals the plan of God.
Hmm. Huh. That's beauty.
Right?
We can leave it right there.
Boom.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
You're expecting me to remember what I just said?
Patience is the
Is the
path.
path to the plan of God.
Hmm.
We
Amazing.
don't play the victim. We don't spend a lot of time asking why. We just trust by faith that what we're going through, God has brought us here. That's the ultimate ending. Here's the ultimate ending.
Yeah.
Joseph says to his brothers, "You didn't send me here. God
God
sent."
did. Yeah.
Like, boom. Like, that should blow our minds.
I love it. Okay. Well, thanks so much for doing this wrap up, dude. Great message. Even though you felt like you were pushing the material, there was a lot of
Yeah.
people having their hearts really turning away. That revealed to them, okay, maybe I need to be a little bit more patient, or yes, I definitely have to be more patient.
Yeah.
It touched my heart in my parenting with my two girls, and even in my marriage with my wife. So I know it's definitely touching hearts of other people. So thank you, and thank you to listening. Thank you to everyone who is listening or watching this. We really love being part of a church that explores and grows together in community. So if you're part of a connect group, jump in, dive in hard together, ask tough questions, and be okay with not having answers sometimes. It is beauty to do this in community. And if you're not yet connected at a church, at Vital Point Church or church in general, head to our website, see how you can get connected. Long, far, close. We don't care where you are. We would love to get to know you a little bit. So make sure you reach out to us. Thanks so much, everyone, and peace out.